Okay, so campaign management. Now, when I talk about campaigns, as Trav said, I might be talking about a few different things, maybe text message campaigns, SMS messages, maybe email campaigns, which is going to be the focus of today, or perhaps something else like Google ads or Facebook ads. In either case, campaigns are really important because they're how we're actually able to engage our members, which, as Trav pointed out, is kind of the first step in this pyramid of building a partnership with our members, our customers, our clients, whoever your constituents may be. So what we're going to do today using our fictitious Mavans org is we're going to walk through a demo here. So what I'm looking to do is I've got a bunch of members at that free or novice level of membership, and I'm going to send out an email promotion to them saying, hey, given the holidays are coming around, we'd like to do a special one-time offer where you can promote your membership tier to that next level, the mastery level. So that's the first paid level, and we're going to offer that at a special 30% off rate. Now, before I'm able to actually send that email, I have to do a little bit of work to get there first. So that end stage of finally having the email hit everyone's inbox or the text message send out, whatever it might be, takes quite a bit of planning first. So to actually send out that message, first of all, we know that we're going to need some kind of tool to do that. Salesforce CRM on its own can't do that. So we have to find the right solution, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we also have to back up and before we even pick a solution, figure out what that solution should be. And that can be a really big conversation for organizations, or maybe they have a campaign solution, but it's not quite doing everything they'd like it to do. They're not seeing very successful engagement rates. People aren't opening emails. There's a lot of unsubscribes. Maybe there's something that could be better. So how we recommend approaching this is breaking it down into 3 fundamental questions for your organization. Number 1, who are your stakeholders? So who's everyone that you should be talking to figure out what campaign should look like at your org? Probably there's someone from a marketing communications role. Maybe there's someone from an events role. Maybe there's a membership manager. It could even be a finance person. This really can take many forms. And what this relates to is our second question, which is, what are all the scenarios in which you need to reach out to your members? Are you just concerned with sending a once-a-month newsletter update to your members? Or are you looking to do seasonal promotions, special offers? Is it a combination of the two? You got to kind of think ahead about all those potential scenarios. And then question number 3, with all that in mind, how much of that information do you need to have in Salesforce? So are you happy just to know that an email went out and you can see a campaign in Salesforce for that particular email marketing campaign you arranged? Or do you want to know more than that? Would you like to know of all those emails, what was the percentage of opens? Or of those open emails, which of your members actually clicked a link in there? You can really drill down on details. And the question is, how much of that do you need at your organization? So that's where these 3 questions come into play. That being said, actually getting the answers to those questions is a bit taxing, right? It's almost too much information to work with, and it can be very, very overwhelming. So how we recommend approaching this at Data Colada is using a very common project management framework called user stories. Now, a lot of you on the call probably have already used these, perhaps even with us. But if you're not familiar, happy to go into it a little bit here. User stories are essentially just a sentence. It's a framework to organize information. As a blank, I can blank, so I can blank. That sentence does is it allows us to understand what does a given piece of technology have to do, who needs the ability to do it, and most importantly, what's the reason for that? So let's look at an example of one of these user stories, particularly as it relates to campaigns. As a Mavans staff member, I can email all of my new Mavans members, asking them to update their preferences so I can make sure I'm only sending them relevant content. So this might sound a bit familiar, yeah? This is actually the email that Trev worked through earlier, that hi, welcome to Mavans, set up your preferences email that he opened and updated preferences for. So to actually arrive at that email, we first had to make a user story just like this to kind of guide us along the way. Here's another example. As a Mavans staff member, I can email members at that free, normal, novice, all those terms being kind of interchanged, that novice level of membership. So I can encourage those members to upgrade to the paid or the mastery level. So this is what we're going to be demoing in just a little bit here, but we're going to start with just this user story. So that's great. You get your information, you talk to all the right people, you know what you need to do thanks to your user stories, but then you have the kind of intimidating task of figuring out what does that solution have to be. As we all know, the App Exchange is just ripe with many, many, many solutions. So what we've tried to do to make this a bit simpler for folks who are either looking for a solution for the first time or perhaps thinking about getting a different one is we've made a decision matrix of 5 really excellent tools that we've had the pleasure of setting up for some of our customers. So I'm just going to briefly show that here. And this document, as well as several other documents we're going to show throughout today and the recordings, we're all going to send out after the presentation. So as you can see, there's a lot of detail in this document, so I'm not going to take the time now to go through it too much, but I'm just going to let you know that, again, it'll be sent out, and I invite you to review this if you're particularly interested in looking at new solutions for a campaign. So just briefly, the 5 solutions that we highly recommend include MailChimp, Campaign Monitor, Autopilot, Salesforce Pardot, and Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And a quick note on these, Pardot and Marketing Cloud are a bit special here because they're actually Salesforce products. So for that reason, we particularly recommend these 2 solutions above the others. The reason for that being, number one, because they're Salesforce products, the integration is going to be practically seamless. All the objects that you potentially want to sync data to, the platform itself that you're looking to get data to and from your CRM, these solutions know all about, they live and breathe it. So right off the bat, you know it's going to be a really great experience. And number 2, because they're Salesforce products, you know you're going to get releases 3 times a year. So improvements are going to be just a constant with those products. So something to keep in mind. Going back to our slide deck here, again, we invite you to check that out in your own time, and we're happy to answer more questions about that afterwards if you are particularly interested in a solution. So let's imagine that you look at that and you've got maybe a couple of contenders, a couple of solutions really catch your eye. So what do you do now? Well, of course, you reach out, and on our decision matrix, we have information about how you do that for all those solutions. Maybe there's a form on a website, maybe you email someone, maybe there's a phone number. Generally, the solutions will give you the right guidance. And from there, you might ask questions that seem pretty obvious, but in case they weren't, good to note. For example, can I see a demo? Or better yet, will you offer me a trial instance? You can actually play with that solution a little bit and see if it's doing everything you want it to do. And also use those user stories in this scenario. So say, quite literally, as a blank, I need to blank so I can blank, with your content. And you can say, can your product do that for me? If I need to send out this text message campaign that needs to go every day based on such and such a scenario, can your solution do that? Or do you have an example of a customer who has done something like that similarly before? And lastly, if you are from a not-for-profit or educational organization, you likely already know this, but in case not, definitely always ask, number 1, are they able to offer you a discount? Usually those 2 types of organizations will get a discount. Anywhere from 10 to 20% is pretty common. And secondly, from those organizations, you have special kind of access to a website called the Power of Us Hub. Some of you on the call might already be familiar with that, but if you're not, it's a Salesforce community that is specific just to our not-for-profit and education customers. And I'll show that just briefly in a little bit here. Now, why this is important is on those communities, people are often reviewing and discussing all the different options or different solutions about campaigns, amongst other topics. And sometimes it's really nice just to hear from other organizations that are a lot like yours, have similar user stories, similar budgets, whatever you're dealing with at your organization. So looking ahead to our live demo here, I want to just kind of review the flow of what I'm going to be showing, and then we'll get right into it. So I'm going to start by looking at my solution of choice and just making sure the basic Salesforce to solution sync is set up and any general settings are good to go there. I'm then going to make my email content, everything everyone thinks about when they imagine campaigns. So actually writing in the email body, adding in images, all that good stuff. From there, I'm going to tell my solution how exactly it should know who should be getting that email. Then I'm going to send out my solution, my campaign, or potentially I'll send it as a journey, more about the difference between those in a little bit. And then lastly, I'll just review how that data is flowing back and forth from my solution to Salesforce. So I can actually evaluate from Salesforce, how's my campaign going, who's opening my emails, that kind of thing. All right, so looking ahead to our live demo here, before I get into that, a couple of things. I'm just going to quickly show the Power of Us Hub. Again, for those of you who haven't seen it before, I just want to show how great of a resource this is if you're in the nonprofit or education world. And number 2, I'm just going to call out that we're going to be using Campaign Monitor as the solution in our example here. But please note that number 1, you do not need Campaign Monitor to accomplish what we're going to be showing. I'm going to keep the kind of techie aspects of this very generic because this isn't a masterclass on Campaign Monitor. It's more so on campaigns. We're choosing to show Campaign Monitor, although we slightly prefer the Salesforce solutions because it's something that some of our customers use. And we just want to show that you can do this with any given solution. So again, I might do it this way in Campaign Monitor, but it would be possible, say, using Salesforce Pardot. Maybe it's slightly different, but the general steps are going to remain the same, and the way that you're going to approach it are no different. All right, so let me just briefly show the Power of Us Hub here. So if you just simply Google Power of Us Hub, you'll see the link immediately. It's quite apparent. And from there, you can log in using your Salesforce credentials. So you can actually log in just like you're logging into Salesforce. There's no need to make a new username or anything of that sort there. And once you're in the hub, there's kind of a lot to take in. So let's just keep it simple here. Let's say that my organization is looking at using Pardot for our not-for-profit work, and I just want to know what other people think about it. If I just search for Pardot, you can see a lot of great information comes up. I've got some articles about basics for Pardot for nonprofits and eds. I've got some conversations in the discussion here. And if I actually go to a section called topics, there's even a whole topic just dedicated to Pardot here. And from the Pardot topics, I'm able to see that there's a bunch of conversations going on. So maybe I want to know, let's see, best practices for Pardot files. If I click on that, I'm able just to see all the conversations going on here. I can see who's asking these questions. I can ask a question myself if I'd like. I can send a message to one of these people and say, hey, how has that worked out for you?
I think members are not able to see the screen.
Sorry, everyone. I'm understanding that people aren't able to see my screen. So it sounds like we're just going to switch screens. Give us just a moment here, please. Sorry about that, everyone. So team, are we able to confirm that people can see the Power of Us Hub? Okay, excellent. Thanks for letting us know, everyone. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me just back up a little bit to make sure we didn't miss anything. Back to the Power of Us Hub. Okay, so here we are. I got here from Google. I logged in just like I was logging into Salesforce. And I'm just doing a search at that top global bar for Pardot because my organization is thinking about using it. And when I search, I can see a whole bunch of articles if I want to read a little bit more about the setup of Pardot maybe, but more importantly, I can go to an area called topics, and there's a whole topic just dedicated to Pardot. And this is really, really great stuff here. I can see all kinds of conversations, for example, tracking market sources using Pardot, or how to deal with Pardot files, what are the best practices there? And these are real people using these solutions. So I could comment in here and ask a question. I could message someone and say, did you end up going with Pardot? How's it working out? Lots of wonderful resources, again, if you're in that not-for-profit or education world. So that's Power of Us Hub. I'll get out of there and we'll go right ahead to our live demo. Okay, so here I am in my Mavans org. And again, we're using Campaign Monitor in our demo here. So pretty much with any of the solutions you pick, one of the first steps you have to do is set the thing up, which generally isn't too onerous of a task. Salesforce has made that really easy over the years. But there is still a little bit of config we have to do at the start to make sure that it's talking to our CRM the way we want it to. It's syncing the way we expect, the cadence we want, that kind of thing. So here I am in my Campaign Monitor admin app. So for Campaign Monitor particularly, this is where you go to set it up. But again, I'm going to keep this section very high level so I don't get too much into the nuances of one solution versus another, as we really do believe that there's a lot of great solutions beyond Campaign Monitor on the market too. So here we are in the sync settings. So for example, I can see that I'm syncing my data between Campaign Monitor and Salesforce every hour. My next run is going to happen at 8:24, and it's syncing through my user, the Mavans admin. And if I wanted to, I could do a quick manual sync or turn it off. I've got other options here. For example, how I want Campaign Monitor to deal with syncing certain objects or handling deleted subscribers, how I want it to deal with people who have that email opt-out field checked on their contact or lead record. I can control all of that here. I can also tell Campaign Monitor how I want it to behave with that native campaign object. So do I want it, for example, to sync certain statistics, always, sometimes, how to handle missing campaign member statuses, things of that nature. I can also quickly come to my maintenance section if I want to look at, for example, any errors that have come through, any error messages, or if I want to, from here, set up some page layouts for my campaigns from Campaign Monitor. I can also see who of my users have access, full access, some access, and billing. So I can, for example, see how many subscribers I have, which tends to, for many of these solutions, influence the cost. More subscribers you have, the higher the cost is typically. And if that's in USD, AUD, the billing contact from our org, current plan run, all that good stuff. So that's the very, very basics of just setting up the sync. I can see it's working, it's happy, it's talking to Salesforce. So I'm pretty pleased with that. There is one more thing that I want to do though. So I'm just going to show something here from my contact record page. So here's one of our contacts, Sue Ann Webster, once again. By the way, a real magician who lives in Sydney, very exciting. So if I go to my related engagement tab here, these are just some of my related lists from the contact record page. You can see here I've got a couple of interesting related lists here. So I've got one called email activity and journeys and one called subscriber list memberships. So I can see from this first one that Sue Ann here has gotten quite a few emails or been a part of some journeys with us, and she's opened a number of them and even clicked on some links, and that she's also a subscriber on 2 different lists. So I can see that she's clearly getting content from us, and it looks like she's engaging back with some of our marketing content. So these related lists are not custom. These simply come out of box with the Campaign Monitor package. And with many of these solutions, that's another good thing to ask for. Do you have any, what features of this package are included aside from the obvious tool to send out your campaigns? Do you get related lists like this? Do you get custom fields? These are really helpful things to know about. All you have to do is drag and drop them on your page layout. And now I don't even have to go to Campaign Monitor to see how my campaigns are going. I can just look at a given contact if I'd like to. So that's some of the initial basic setup. So now let's move on to the topic of who should be getting this email. So I will show that next. And in Campaign Monitor lingo, that's called a subscriber list. So I've already got a couple set up here. What I'm going to do is just kind of walk through the basics of how I set this up. Again, not too much detail, but the premise of how Salesforce and Campaign Monitor understands who should be getting my email. So I've got something called the normal tier promo campaign, or my novice tier promo campaign. I'm just going to skip ahead to a section here called Import Wizard. So in this scenario, it's actually quite convenient that I already happen to have a report of all of my new people, all of my members who are at that new or novice level of membership. So I want to take advantage of the fact that I already have that report and then tell Campaign Monitor to feed its subscribers based on that report. So that way I don't have to do it twice or manually enter names or something. And again, many solutions offer a kind of similar functionality or something quite like it. So if I just go here, I can see that this report, normal members for tier promo campaign, is actually being shown as imported to the list. So I'll just show that report. So here's that report I talked about that I had ready to go in Salesforce. And I've got quite a few people on here, mostly test members. And this is just a regular old report I made using Salesforce CRM. It's just showing me all my contacts and accounts that have a membership type of novice. So going back to my subscriber list, how I actually set this up here, I'll just review that. Is I said, find my right report in the right report folder, map the right field. So for example, the full name field in Salesforce should mean the same thing as it does in Campaign Monitor. And I can also schedule this import. So how often should my subscriber list update itself based on changes in the report? Because Salesforce reports are constantly adding or taking off members potentially as they do and don't meet criteria. And I can say as often as every day, every hour if I'd like. So then I'll simply hit save and import. And you can see the status is now queued and that'll update to completed once that's all good. Now, a brief word on the subscriber list. I don't need to make these every single time I want to send a campaign. It's just that in this instance, I had to make a subscriber list so Campaign Monitor had something to work with. So now anytime I want to send a campaign out to all of my members at that new level, the novice level, I can just reuse the subscriber list time and time again. All right, so our next section of the demo has to do with the content creation. So what we all think about when we're imagining building campaigns, right? So I'll show what that looks like for Campaign Monitor in our example here. So here I am in the Campaign Monitor section of Salesforce. And I could actually be doing this on the web browser if I liked, but from here I can do it in Salesforce, which is kind of nice. So we can see here, I've got an overview, I've got campaigns, all kinds of goodies here. So what's happening here is in scheduled campaigns, this is the campaign I want to send out to all those members about upgrading to the mastery level. And I've got 23 recipients that are going to get that. So let's take a look at that. All right, so I can see that I've named my campaign and I can even add the subject line here. So I can use merge fields, for instance, the first name of the recipient, the subject line, take your membership to the next level, who I want the from address and the from name to be, and of course, the juicy content of the email itself. Let's take a look at that. Now, a lot of these solutions are really elegant at this stage. The dragging and dropping and making the emails is really easy and user-friendly. So I just made this earlier today. Wasn't too hard, put in some images, added some text. Again, there's another merge field to put the first name in there. And I'm saying in my content, we've got a special holiday surprise. Consider upgrading your membership, and we'll give you a special 30% off rate if you do that. And here's all the wonderful benefits if you do that. And here's our call to action, of course, promote your membership to the mastery level. And of course, the footer. Now, the footer is always crucial in any email we want to send out every single time for a few reasons. One, having an address there makes your email much less spammy, more likely that it's going to be accepted, and it looks more like a valid email. Number two, you get an explanation for why you're getting that email, which relates to number three here, the ability to unsubscribe. We always have to give our members the ability to unsubscribe. We must respect their preferences and their privacy, and they're trusting us by giving us their mobile numbers and their emails and so forth. And we must pay that back by, allowing them to opt out if they don't like any of our content, or updating their preferences, as Shrav showed, so that they're only getting things that interest them. And social media handles, which are great promotion tools as well. Now, once I'm happy with that, I can preview it. That allows me to see the email both in mobile and desktop view. And once I'm happy with that, I'll go back to my snapshot. And I can edit a few more things if I wish. For example, I could preview how this email is going to look if I want to be one of my members. So I can see how it's going to look for, say, Sue Ann. Can also verify who's going to be getting this email, my recipients, and you can see it's actually looking at that subscriber list we just talked about, that normal tier promo campaign. And if I needed to, I could edit that. I could also manually add in folks. I could do any number of things if I desired to. Oh, there we go. So we can see our current list is right now, it's just feeding off of our subscriber list from that normal tier promo campaign. And lastly, I scheduled delivery. So you can see I've got this email set to fire out at noon today, local time, but I can also have it fire out immediately if I like, or send it out based on recipient's time zone, many different options there. So that's if I'm happy with my email and I'm ready for it to go. I've done all the work. I just need to wait for it to send out. But before I do that, there is one last option I want to review here, which is the concept of a journey. So when we talk about campaigns, you often hear people talk about this popular buzzword of journey. So a journey is, first of all, something that terminology-wise differs across solutions. So what Campaign Monitor, for example, is going to call a journey is something that Salesforce Pardot is going to call Engagement Studio. So as long as you're able to describe what you'd like to do, I'm sure that solutions have a response to you as far as if they have that product and what they call it. So for purposes of Campaign Monitor, it's called a journey. But what a journey is it's a more dynamic version of a campaign. So a campaign is just going to send an email out once, here you go, consider updating to the mastery level membership, all done. So a journey is a bit more elegant in that it's going to wait for user behavior and take different actions accordingly. So depending on whether or not the email was opened, maybe we resend the email, or maybe we send them a different email, or depending on criteria about those recipients, are they members for 10 years or more? Should we send them an extra special email because of that? So based on a series of time delays, criteria, and different basically aspects of our recipients, we can really tailor that marketing message to be a lot more interesting to them. So I will just show a very simple journey that I've set up here in Campaign Monitor. So in that same example, let's say once again, I want to send that email out to ask my new members to consider becoming paid members, but I want to make sure they saw it. So after 10 days, I'm going to ask Campaign Monitor to resend it to them, and this time with a slightly different subject line to say, hey, you might have missed this email, consider becoming a mastery member. So here's a journey in Campaign Monitor. Again, details of this very different across solutions, so I'll keep it high level here. But I've had it set up right now to just say on a particular date that I specify. That's going to shut off this journey. Send out that email that I initially showed you all. And you can see here that I can actually see from every step on my journey the rate of sent emails, of open emails, of clicked emails. I can also tailor my subject line to be something a bit more specific for this particular stage. Same with the from email name and address. And then I'm telling the journey to hang on a minute, wait 10 days. And then after those 10 days, was the email opened? If it was, all good, the journey is complete. They saw the content, nothing more to do, we'll leave it be. And if they haven't opened the email, we're going to send it to them again, but this time the subject line is going to say, it's not too late to take your membership to the next level. So